So, good day, Sir Mark Stripp and Mark Edioma. It's kind of surprising how both of you have the same name, so I assume you have the same brains as well, being our speakers this morning. So, okay, proceeding from the video, or alluding to the video that was presented a while ago, how do processes like credit screening and evaluation that are lengthy and document heavy being processed by Automation Hero? How does Automation Hero come into place?
Can you hear me? So I guess the paradigm that Automation Hero takes is looking at the unstructured data out there. So there's been a lot of talk today about the data management and lots of very powerful capabilities, but there's still a lot of data that's trapped in documents, emails, PDFs that we haven't been able to get to today. And that's inhibiting decision making and inhibiting the speed of execution. So we see it as being able to extract complex information from complex documents and using our execution platform APIs and so on to accelerate things like credit screening and other document heavy processes like mortgage applications and so on.
And also to add to what Mark said, Automation Hero does a lot of things. If I explain all of those in the technical manner, we won't reach the time needed. So it does a lot of things, but the most important thing and the most useful thing about Automation Hero is that it complements our workforce. It ensures that our workforce are ready for the future, thereby reducing all those repetitive activities, bottlenecks in the process, and allow the business to grow actually, to scale up with the growing needs of our customers.
So we understand that Automation Hero does not eliminate the human element into the banking industry. Rather, it enhances productivity so that they may be able to focus on more important tasks, right? So can you paint a picture on how AI and automation will come into play in the future, especially in the banking industry? And maybe can you tell us a little bit more about why this is an important innovation, especially towards the fourth industrial revolution?
So everyone's catering to the new digital native narrative with their customers. It's changing how they're engaging with the customers. That's changing all the time. There's been a lot of talk today about open banking and the ecosystem that has to play part there. So it's introducing a competitive element. It's a change agent. It's forcing banking to improve their processes or look at how that they are going to partner with FinTech. But ultimately, understanding your own data sets and actually the value that you bring to those trading marketplaces is going to be key, but also in how you identify those new business models as well. And I think we talked about, how do we engage with the business side of things? Well, it's speaking to business in their language. And if you can understand the data sets that they're using and provide them that information in a way that they've never been able to see that information before, in their own language, it accelerates the transformation from that perspective as well.
Okay, Mr. Edioma, do you have any insights on the question?
In terms of dealing with our customers, especially in the Philippines, it's almost paperwork, right? Dealing with paperwork is a painstaking task. Transferring it from the paper, physical format to the system is usually time-consuming and difficult for our workforce. So, using the AI technology of Automation Hero, we'll be able to speed up the process, make the business operations more efficient, so that our frontliners or workforce can really focus on the deciding part, not really on the reading and transforming of data from physical to digital.
So I understand from both of your responses that in the Philippines, when it comes to processing documents with banks, they usually require voluminous documentary requirements, right? So this is where Automation Hero comes into play. It compartmentalizes certain types of information in order to expedite the process. But what our question would be rather, how is open banking here in the Philippines, and what is the current climate of open banking in the Philippines and abroad?
Okay, so here in the Philippines, especially in the far-flung areas, it's not 100% paperwork. Now, it's hard to reach those areas because number one, they don't have much documents, and if they have, it's blank paper, transactions are written on the paper itself, it's really hard to capture and make sense of it, right? So businesses tend to spend more time, more resources, making sense of that. So the efficiency is lost there. That's why if there's a solution that can make sense of it and bring it to the business, a summarized information or basically something that they can act on it, that could really bring a business value to them. Because instead of spending much time reading and understanding those information, we just need to act on it. And we are on the right track mindset. We are seeing the financial technologies or FinTech companies. They are starting the AI journey, but we are still a long way on this path.
I understand what you've said about far-flung provinces not having the technology in order to capture information that would comply with the requirements of banks. And actually, in a study conducted by the Global Finance magazine, the Philippines is very much behind when it comes to technological advancement, ranking 61st out of 64 in the 2022 edition of the most technologically advanced countries. So with this setback in coming into play, how do you think we should proceed or we should begin with thinking about applying automation hero, AI, and automation here in the Philippines?
Okay, so automation hero is a silver bullet for all of those tall asks, right? But we can tackle the most important thing, which is our customers, dealing with catering to where they are, their safe space, which is basically, as I mentioned earlier, it's more on the paperwork or more on the basic documentations. Lifting it up so that it gets relevant to the business after making sense of all of those information, and then deciding and then sharing it with everybody. That's what open banking is about. And then automation hero is crucial contributing factor in reaching all of those far from reach documents.
How about you, Mr. Marshall? Any insights?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to add to that. As Malik said earlier, starting with focusing on the customer-centric piece, and thinking about what are all the sort of documents, processes, back-end systems that are touching that, where the biggest areas for improvement are, which is easy to say because that's what you're looking at anyway. But if you can put into concept, the paradigm that if you can now understand the documentation process, what is it that's been inhibiting you in terms of achieving that process goal or new model or new process, whatever it is, by able to understand that, now think about, right, okay, if we can, where can we start unlocking that potential in the customer experience?
So I understand that automation here comes into play and it innovates by being customer-centric, by catering to the customer's needs. However, another setback that we currently face being a third world country, according to Pearl Pay, one of the reasons why a lot of Filipinos are unmapped is because they do not have sufficient requirements or documentary requirements that are needed in order to, for example, apply for a loan or even open a savings account. So, in fact, a research firm Banco Central ng Pilipinas mentioned that the unbanked sector is not usually formally employed. So that they can have any certificates of employment or income tax returns, those that are required under the law to be complied with in order to be considered an employee of a company. So with these challenges circulating the banking industry in the Philippines, how do you think artificial intelligence and automation can solve them?
Well, it's difficult to say AI and automation will solve all of those elements, but in the context we're talking about here, and a common theme today is really better insights, better decision making, and better outcomes. To date, Mark was saying, that the information is in various different data sets or various different documents, which makes it hard for the underwriting team to make those approvals because they can only work with what they can actually see. Typically, it's very structured information. So I guess in the world of tomorrow, what could be a lot better is that they are able to see various different data sources. There's different income statements they might be getting, or pay stubs and sales receipts and stuff like that add to the information that the underwriting team are getting, and obviously using the back-end orchestration APIs to inform those systems to basically enable your underwriting team to make better decisions on behalf of the Filipino people. So, that's an area that can help, accelerate that transformation.
And based on Automation Hero, what we are presenting as our innovation partner this morning, how do you think automation and AI can uplift customers, not only banks?
I guess in terms of if you think about banking and what it's facing right now, they're having to, do things faster than ever before, in a better way, making it easier, all the while being more secure and stuff like that. So it's an increasing challenge. But in terms of how we're helping some companies, I was in Italy last week, for example, we were speaking to an Italian bank where we've increased optimized their time to yes on credit approvals from 30 minutes to 3 minutes, and that gives them, it's not just a result in terms of that time being closed, but it gives them options in terms of how they can now, different services they can offer those customers as well, and all whilst reducing the cost on that by 15 to 20%. And another projects we're working on where we're looking to data migration projects to increase the loan approval optimization. So we're hoping for progress on that as well.
For me, 3 things. So number 1, transforming the way we do work. So in terms of operational efficiency again, digitalized information doesn't have to be painstaking and time-consuming. Number 2, integrations. So we have to, as per mentioned earlier, open banking is about digitalizing the information and sharing it across the other players in our systems in such a way that they can decide on it already. And number 3 is faster time to market. So with Automation Heroes, as you see earlier, the Steam low-code platform, it's easy to develop. It's faster than the traditional way of doing things, like writing thousands of codes, and you can go live in as fast as a few months, than a few years. So that's how we can contribute to this initiative.
And knowing how Automation Hero operates, how do you think the solution falls when it comes to open banking?
We in terms of how to start, in terms of how to kick that off. So it goes back to what we were saying about focusing on the people, the processes, and where those areas are to focus on. But I guess, especially in terms of automation in that context as well, a lot of banks when they went into it originally were automating the as-is, kind of for those immediate gains. And what was yesterday is innovation is today's constraint, because they're looking to that next wave of automation. So what we're suggesting and what Third Pillar can help with as well is, don't necessarily automate the process as is, but look for the process improvement and then automate that. And that's actually a bigger impact with a faster time to value. So it's accelerating that on open banking initiative.
Yeah, in terms of key factors in innovating or improving what's already been there. So one of the reasons is, some of our customers we should talk to have already a set of technology stacks in their companies, right? But the problem is there's always some sort of bottlenecks, issues, or problems with existing technology space. So we go in, we listen to those pain points, we translate it into something that's working, the hero way or the hero version. And mind you, we are seeing lots of improvements in terms of operational efficiency and really delivering on and solving all those long-standing or years-long problems.
So I understand the value Automation Hero or automation and AI have when it comes to banking industry. Do you have examples of how it works? How banks are able to begin or start with their automation journey? Because we all know in any type of issue or problem, it's usually the where to start, which is the most crucial. So do you have any examples on how banks were able to adapt this type of technology?
We operate a platform approach, and we've been talking a lot about platforms today, but often it's starting off with that initial use case and sort of building upon that really in terms of and that's the advantage that a platform gives you, is that you can actually tackle one use case after another, and that unlocks other potential that sort of leads on to the other. With again going back to the example of being in Italy last week with Allianz Italia, they started off with classification and saw a quick return there, and then moved on to extraction, metadata management piece that Malik was mentioning earlier, and informing systems of records to improve the customer experience from that point of view as well. And they continue to evolve to the next stage where they're looking for them is claims processing, understanding the document in terms of not just trying to identify high priority claims to deal with first, or fraudulent, they get consistent activity from certain fraudulent lawyers and stuff like that, and also understanding the roles of people within the documents as well, so they can understand the behaviours from one case to another. So starting off small, without knowing fruit and building out those use cases there. And that's a great thing with the platform, the low-code, no-code, is actually you can accelerate those outcomes faster.
Yeah, in terms of where to start, we actually have to focus on who are the most impacted. So basically, again, the workforce to deal on a daily basis with all those information and data in different shapes and forms. So we have to speed up the process, because at the end of the day, the customers will benefit. If we are operationally efficient, we finish decision making faster, and then the services will be delivered faster.
So now we understand how automation and the automation here come into play with regard to the banking industry, and you've mentioned that it's always customer-centric. However, alluding to one of our discussions a while ago, one of the pervasive problems being faced by the banking industry is security. So, in the Open Banking Finance Framework, one of the applications programming interface or API standards covers security, which is getting the latest and robust authorization and authentication when it comes to protocols for risks. So it includes multi-factor authentication and advanced encryption standards. So in the process of open banking, how does automation here ensure that there is a high level of security, since we all know that the personal data of the customers will be shared?
We are a SaaS company. All of our clients are single tenant, fully isolated and encrypted. And also we don't store the data, so it's intelligent document processing. So typically we're classifying, extracting, or essentially processing that data. We might output it to a human if that's part of your process, validation, or empowering a knowledge worker to act on some information. And then it's output to your system of record, so it doesn't stay with us. But also when it comes to sharing maybe data with vendors or other business units, we have the ability to redact data as well, so you can keep that data privacy as well.
Yeah, and we also follow the different international standards, SOC to GDPR, and ISO certification. So we follow the international standards, and as mentioned by Sir Malik, we will also have a national and international standard, regional standard in the future, because the platform is ready and scalable and can be easily adapt to all those newer or in the future new standards. And also, as mentioned, it's also encrypted at rest and in transit. So anywhere attacks could come, they can get any relevant or meaningful data from our users.
So there is a strong and sufficient support when it comes to security that are compliant not only with national laws but with international laws. And hopefully in the future, if there will be amendments or changes to these laws, Automation Hero will always be 100% in compliant and full support with these changes. So in sum, before we wrap up this talk, just to give our audience members striking insight on what AI and automation have in store for open banking. Do you have any few words or last words?
Like I said at the beginning, our paradigm is around focusing on the 80% unstructured data. We do structured as well, but there's been many a platform out there that's been addressing that. So we're focusing on unstructured, but IDC, I think, reported that the data is increasing at a rate of 25% year on year for the next 5 years. So this is only going to get bigger and bigger in terms of what you need to address. And with the open banking initiative coming into play, the marketplaces, and also just improving the customer experience, it's going to become increasingly important that you understand data, make better decisions with better outcomes. And that's what we're doing today. So we look forward to speaking to you later.
Yeah, and in terms of looking for a solution, my advice is to find a solution that can, number one, implement faster. It's adaptable to the future and can scale up based on your growing needs or growing market share. And as much as possible, address right away the problems you have internally and add problems with your customers.